Shalom, shalom, peace, peace. Trying to get everybody on with us. Hopefully all is well. All right. Let's get this started. All right. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahavah's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer. And it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect. Today's message, Aman. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi, ¿cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi, ça va? Ni hao, namaste, osayende kituya, Ohio. I see you, Manut, Wagwan, Kamsa, Kasomida, Aloha, Ciao, Privet, Habarigani, Aquaba, Madase, Itisen, Jambo, Mimini Kofi, the Franco Katana Wewe, Layaltav, and I connected servant of Christ, Mashalam. Peace. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Come on in, take your time. Coming in, I don't have too much time. We do have our meeting that we're going to have this evening. We're going to send a link out in the email to everybody, and just right after we finish the live session, so we won't be on all night. That being said, I am led to, we don't always dive into certain things politically or talk about it politically affiliated. However, it's important that we have a little discussion. I'm not sure where this discussion is going to land, how it's going to land, how it's going to be taken. And that's okay. There will probably be persons who watch this live or may even watch this later on. By the way, welcome to everybody. Once again, we give all honor and praise to the Most High. We give praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Mine, who lives a life that's able to be honored. To Lottie, Don, everybody, thank you for being on. But we're going to have a little discussion. Let everybody come on in. We have our sisters who are coming over from the women's meeting as well, finishing that up. And like I said, right after that, we do have a pretty much might as well call it the SOC community meeting. It's really going to be more regional meeting. But that being said, we'll try to have some information and try to put together some stuff to make sure to start talking about some things as far as meeting up for next week on Zoom, and prayerfully that turning into more physical meetups and things of that nature. But we're going to have some discussion tonight. And it's important that, we talk about what's real on here all the time anyways. That being said, it's important that we look at some things that are happening in reality, and we talk about some real stuff from time to time. And so tonight be one of them nights where we need to discuss some things, not run away from certain things that are happening politically, and make sure that we're prepared, right? This is not a call for us to vote. This is not a call for us to become Democrats or Republicans tonight. But this is an opportunity for us to have a real conversation. So we thank everybody for being on. We appreciate you once again. To Lottie and everybody for being on with us. Hopefully you guys are doing well. We'll say our Bible pledge and then we're going to jump right in. But it's going to be a discussion. We'll probably end in about 40 minutes or so at the latest, and get ready for our meeting tonight. But it's going to be a conversation. So, feel free to talk back to me. Matter of fact, I don't have all the information. I've been hearing some things like within the last hour. I guess things have been going on longer than that. But yeah, we're going to have some real conversation tonight. Is that all right? It'll still be coming through the prism of the Most High, through the Bible, right, through the Word, through the Kingdom, through Yahashavai, through what we're looking to do. But there are certain things that we should make sure that we talk about as a diaspora, and even as a diaspora to those who don't identify as themselves or as us, if we would like to say it like that. But we still should be aware and speak some things through. So to everybody coming on, thank you so much for being on. How you doing? Double OG, Triple OG, Minister Stephen, Brother Rodney, Sister Judith, Miss Ladybug, Brother Alex, big Brother Thomas. If I miss anybody else, please charge it to my head, not to my heart. Ever since some of this stuff is changing with the buyout of TikTok and ownership and all that, there's been even more suppression as of late, which is okay. So if you'd like to share this with somebody or whatever, but I'm not as concerned about hitting number marks as I am about having some real, true, honest discussion. I'm filibustering a little bit. We know we have the sisters that are coming in from the women's meeting as well, so we're gonna give them a little extra time to come on in. But just some quick reminders. So right after this, we're gonna have a quick Zoom meeting, just me putting out some information. So if you'd like to join us, just for me to kind of go over some things, talk about where we're gonna be traveling, or at least where we'd like to try and travel around the times. We still don't have dates solidified all the way yet. Especially those of you who are on the East Coast in certain places, but really all over the world, really, especially over the United States. If you'd like to be able to join us, feel free to join us. And I'm just going to drop some information real quick. And we're going to get into some things. Praise Yah. Amen. So, we'll go ahead and get started. All praises. So, prayerfully, mic check. Everybody can hear and see me okay prayerfully? Yes, no, maybe so. And let's go ahead. So I need seriously, it's conversation. You guys might be able to fill in some holes for me as well. And it's just some stuff we need to be ready for. And of course, we'll talk about what's real. So it is what it is. All is well. All right. So thank you for being on different platforms. We'll go ahead and, get started. Prayerfully, we'll be joined by those who are coming in a little later. You can just put your right hand on your Bible, the device in the air. Just repeat after me. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust, for Yahashavai is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard, for this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Hashem Yahavah. Amen. What's in Yahavah Shem? His name is authority. Let it be done unto us. You may be seated to go back to what you're doing in the presence of the Most High Yah. So tonight, we're going to just discuss a little bit of stuff regarding Don Lemon. Some of you may or may not know what's going on with him. Most persons probably know Don Lemon, right? Used to be a fixture on CNN, got caught up in some stuff legally, which he says he did not do. By the way, if I can just put this up front, I know the word. I know that it says that homosexuality is a sin. It is something that we're not supposed to do. It is extremely wrong. It's something that's against our belief system. That being said, we're just going to be honest tonight. Don Lemon was not arrested because he was gay. It's something that somebody can hold over his head and try in certain political spheres to use to say that it's okay to do what they did to him. But Don Lemon was not the only one arrested, by the way. There was a young woman and two other men. All of them share something in common, which is, if we just be honest and keep it the color of their skin. And this is something that, if you've been reading the tea leaves, should not be too surprising. But at the same time, it kind of hits you because this is because of what happened. Now, it's an interesting dynamic. And how you doing, Sister Beck? How you doing, Brother Dennis? That's right. Same plot, same bat time, same bat channel, right? Don't miss next week's day. It'll be you can pick up right where they left off. How you doing, Sister Melissa? And Shabbat Shalom to everybody if you're using the Gregorian calendar. Shabbat Shalom to you all. So Don Lemon was arrested. 3 other journalists were arrested. And they were arrested for their coverage of basically a protest that happened. And the protest, to be honest, I'm not going to act like I paid extreme attention to it, but if I'm not wrong, I believe the protest happened where they got inside of a church, right? And the pastor had some ties to ICE, or at least had said some stuff to support ICE. And it was in Minnesota. And others were arrested later on for either recording what happened or interviewing persons. Don Lemon actually went in and interviewed the pastor. Now, I'm going to do my best to not just go black of the black, black of the black. Right? Because this is low-hanging fruit. How you doing, Sister Angela? This is low-hanging fruit. It'd be really easy to just be like, yeah, black this and black that and blah, blah. How you doing, Sister Mignon? It makes it very interesting in this regard that as much as the freedom of the press is supposedly being attacked, if you can go by the same Constitution and the same amendment, there's something called freedom of religion. And as far as the state law, now they made it federal. So him and the others are actually arrested under federal officers. How you doing, Sister? Oh, sorry, Elder Tamara, excuse me. I saw the wrong name in my head, sorry. So the federal police are involved. The state had a law I believe. Now, it could be the federal government. I think it's the state law, right? Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this, because this part doesn't matter but so much, but I'm trying to make sure I get all my information correctly. I believe the state law was that there was a law that was put in place to actually make sure that persons couldn't get inside certain places like Planned Parenthood and things of that nature. And they would, to make sure that the law passed in the state, I believe they made sure that they actually said, you know what we'll do, we'll make sure that for the right side, for this to pass, then you have to say, then we have to protect persons from protests that happen inside of places of religion, like churches. How you doing, Sister Shirley? So technically, here's one of those technical things, we gotta be honest on both sides. Technically, even though there's freedom of press, if there's a service going on, all those protesters broke the law when they came inside during the service. And by the way, that's something that's been protected. Matter of fact, it used to be a thing. It still is in many places where if somebody is being looked for and they've broken the law or something like that, in certain places still to this day, you can find refuge inside of churches. So that's not actually like where police officers actually can't just come inside churches. I think that's changed a lot recently in many places, but it still exists. So that actually is not something, believe it or not, that's new or something that they're just using in this situation, because churches technically are supposed to be safe places. Yeah, okay, true. Yeah, so police, yeah, and I don't know if you're talking about all over, but definitely you're probably speaking. I'm asking this because of where you live, probably in Newport News area, right? You probably know that for a fact. I know that for a fact in other places I've lived too. So I'm just trying to make sure, because there could be places where it's changed or it's different. How you do, Minister Morel? But as far as I know, many different places, that's still a protected place. So Richmond area for sure. Okay, thank you. So I want to make sure we put that out. I'm not fibbing. Persons are saying about from their experience, etc. Right? And how you doing, Sister Monica? How you doing, Sister Carla? How you doing, Sister Beverly? So yeah, so there was a breaking of the law for the persons not only to protest, but then for without permit. Well, yeah, without permission. Because as much as the pastor did not say get out of here, the pastor did not say before the service started, come inside. Yah is amazing. Praise Yah. How you doing, Magwan, Audrey, and Shalom, everybody coming in. So there is some of that. Once again, tonight's just a discussion. I'm not coming from any particular chapter verse. Just being honest, we have a conversation tonight about some real stuff, right? All praises to the Most High. I can't wait to hear the testimony. Sounds like there's a testimony bubbling. How you doing, Brother Allen? How you doing, Sister Quotation? So, and all these things that are going on, right? That technically you have to say by law, if the law is written out and the law says you can't, and they recently even redid it to make sure that they were going to say, hey, we want to make sure you can't go on to places for Planned Parenthood and places like that. Then, and also we're going to add, you can't just walk into a church. Persons protest, they break in. Now, look, when you protest, by the way, that comes with the territory, right? So you have to know that sometimes protests are not just, oh, we get permission, blah, blah. Sometimes protests are done because, you're about to break the law, but you're breaking the law that you feel like is unseemly, or you're breaking the law to bring light to another law that needs to be changed. So if we're going to be, I'm trying my best to not just be, oh, we're going ahead and and F everybody. Blah. No. It would be honest, right? There was a law that was broken. Now, can we say, now this is a question I don't know the answer to. I'm not sure if the protesters that showed up, how many of them were arrested. They could have been arrested all that night, but I'm not sure. And if not, that's interesting. But we do know that the 4 reporters were arrested. Now, I'm not sure where the positioning was. This is something that I'm just being honest, or I haven't been able to look up everything. I'm not sure what the positioning was, but I'm not sure if the others who were arrested, if they were inside the church, if they were on church property, if they were filming it from outside, because that's different, right? But as far as, yeah, could you say technically they broke the law? Yeah, right? And that's obviously something that they're using and abusing. They're going to use it to the best of their ability because they want to make an example. And it builds upon things that you're seeing as far as, what's his name? Not Jimmy Kimmel. Who's the other guy who does a talk show or not talk show, whatever, late night host, who basically got his show taken down, and eventually they had to put that back up. And Shabbat Shalom, brother Alex. Hopefully I said your name earlier. I'm not sure if I did. Right. Um, so this is something that's been coming for a while. They've been messing with stuff on the airways as far as radio programs. They've been taking down television shows. They've been getting Disney to come in and out of those things. Well, I know who you're talking about with him. Yeah. So they pretty much they gonna have him out. He's on CBS. Who's the guy who does NBC? Is it Jimmy Kimmel? Is Jimmy Kimmel his name? Is that the one who got taken down and they had to put him back up? Stephen Colbert or whatever Stephen, if his real name is Stephen Miller, he's gonna be losing it. It was Jimmy. Okay. How you doing, Sister Monique? So yeah, so Kimmel was the guy that they got rid of or whatever. So this is something that we've been seeing for a while. And by the way, suppression of the truth is not something that's new. But it's something that I think we need to discuss. I think it's something that we need to be in solidarity for. Once again, I'm not talking about being Republican or Democrat or anything like that. I'm not saying march on Washington, march on wherever they're being held in LA, because Don Lemon actually, from what I understand, was arrested during the Grammys is going on right now, or whatever's going on right now, whatever award show. He was arrested in LA during that, so he's somewhere over there right now, and but we have to recognize and realize that this is something that's honestly, it's something that's been coming for a while, and it's something even in our Revelation series, it just makes so much more sense, and we should really be prepared. Really starting to prepare for our move. We've been saying we wanted to try and get everything done within 5 years for a minute. Really, you could say that statement was, now it's been sped up. I was saying like maybe 5 to 10 years could take longer, but hopefully we do stuff within 5 years. It's a reminder to me we need to be ready. Our families need to be ready. Where we're depositing our stuff. What we're doing with things, growing food, saving seed. At this point, we're talking about, we in the midst of Revelation. We literally just talked about this today. We're talking about living, or well, last night and today, living on our feet. And, for Yah we live, for Yah we die. Yeah. What can be done faster needs to be done faster. And it's I don't know. Let me ask this before I go further, because like I said, I really want this to be a conversation. I'm not really here ready with particular things to say. What do you guys feel about this situation? Let me ask you guys seriously. Like, let's just have conversation tonight. I won't take up too much more of your time because we got to get ready for the meeting tonight. But what do you guys feel about it? You said they already said we are taking a break from the protest because nobody listened, right? What are you guys' thoughts about it? As far as what's going on, persons getting locked up for belief systems, it ain't but a matter of time. If they'll knock on one door, they'll knock on your door too. How you doing, babe? My wife is on, the Honorable Maya. Thanks for what you do as always, babe. And thanks for being over over what's going on with the sisters. Prayerfully all went well with the meeting. You said it's necessary. Yah's will must be done. Okay. So, and I'm not trying to get on anybody, whatever. Like, I want to have genuine. I know it's hard to put it in a certain amount of characters you're limited to in the chat, but thank you, babe. But seriously, what do you guys think about that? Is watching Revelation unfold in your lifetime? Wasn't on your bingo card? Well, we're really, well, it's interesting. It's on our bingo card because that's what the word told us to do. It's kind of hits different now that we know that it's real, but it is what it is. You said it really makes you want to know the laws more, makes you more aware. Yeah. And like I said, before anybody comes on here once again doing the gay bashing thing, look, we understand that Don Lemon is homosexual. We understand that the word is against it. He wasn't arrested because he was homosexual. Okay. And even if we look at it the same way, if we be honest, or if we look at the same thing, here's Nicki Minaj on the other end, sucking up, getting that gold card. And that gold card, by the way, come to find out, apparently you have to pay $1 million towards Trump Foundation stuff. And then you have to pay a $15,000 fee, processing fee, to be able to even get that. So it's becoming very clear, if you stand up against unrighteousness in any way, shape, or form, you will be, they doing what they can to suppress / lock you up, right? Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. There are those that say that they're us and are not in the synagogue of the Satan. We think we're poor, but really are rich. We're gonna have to go through some things, including you might even have to deal with some time being locked up. It's an interesting thing. It shows you and confirms that Yahavah's moving. Yeah. Anything. I mean, anything else? You said nowadays the choice. Yeah, choice is plainly presented. And which side you're gonna stand on. We just talked about last night. 10 toes down. I'm gonna be honest with you. It didn't shock me, but it hit me different when I heard the news. I just recently heard the news. I don't know how long ago it happened, but I just recently heard the news that Don Lemon got locked up. And got locked up because of what he was doing. And what it shows is, we're seeing a lot of stuff. Persons getting off for certain things. Persons who marched in the Capitol have gotten off. Persons who, the Epstein files. You run on that. You're not going to put that out. Like all these different things. It's getting to a place where unrighteousness is the play if you want to have a so-called easier life. The only way you're going to have a so-called easier life and not have to bow down is at some point we have to get this stuff done. Nothing else hit me more than that, to be honest. Like it really hit me kind of like we're gonna have to really choose this and live this and be ready, sooner than later. Certain things they just have to move. We still gonna make sure food is grown first, but now it's like, hey, even if I can't make sure the plumbing is done or whatever, we might have to have a place because if somebody comes through, they tried recently to come through Chicago. They couldn't really do that. They're already all the way through Minnesota. Supposedly they're pulling out ICE agents at this time as well. So the pressure is on them to where they're pulling ICE agents out there. They're blaming everybody for all the death that's happened. But they're supposedly pulling ICE agents out from what I read. And I saw a little bit of news reportings on a couple different news platforms. I try to watch different ones just to make sure, I'm not getting it just from one source. What else? They said that, they've already been in Cali. Where were they at in Cali? Were they in LA? Or was it San Francisco or wherever? They were in Oregon, right? They tried to do New York. They didn't get into New York, not like that, right? They're in DC. Are they still in I think they're still in DC. I don't really go through there, especially not right now. I've been hearing little things from there. Okay, they're in Michigan, so so they're all over the place at this point. And by the way, in Maine as well. Okay. So they're around, right? They're showing up at personal jobs and things like that in places we know. Famously, there was the woman that reported all those Koreans that were supposed to be working in that plant and giving American money to the plant, and they pulled out all the Korean persons from all over the plants because they arrested them wrongly because they actually were legally allowed to work there. So it's real. Yeah, they're pulling. You know what? My bad. Of course, yeah, they're pulling children out of schools. We had some SOC families who have dealt with persons who have left. Some of them have left in peace as far as they were like, you know what, it's better I just go ahead and leave. I'd rather go back to the country that they say is worse than here, but it'll be at least I can go ahead and exist there without worrying about being arrested all the time. Restaurants, the list goes on and on. So yeah, so it's it's kind of one of those things where we got to sound the alarm. We got to have real conversation. Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay. So in Charlotte as well. So there are multiple places, quite a bit. And so this stuff that we talk about is real. It's real. It's for real. And now, you know what? I'm gonna okay. We having just conversation, real talk. I'm not gonna hold back. I'm not saying anything mean. I'm not gonna be preachy tonight. We just talking. We're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do. Invest in our time, talents, efforts, energy, and yes, even donations, things of that nature. What are we willing? Yeah, it is real talk tonight, right? Hashtag real talk. What are we willing to do? What are we willing to do? What are we willing to? Like at this point, it's very necessary for us to realize that it's going to keep getting worse. I'm not trying to be the I told you so guy. All right. But real talk, I believe for a while, and this is not, I tell you guys, the so-called prophetic, which we think is telling the future and all that, is not always my bag. But I believe I've been very consistent, led by Holy Spirit, saying, hey, things are going to get worse. And we keep waiting for things to get better through the government. Somehow, some way we believe, like our belief system, like this is what a lot of persons are just hoping for. They're hoping Trump gets arrested all of a sudden, or can you just survive? What is it, 3 more years now? If you can survive 3 more years, everything will get better, because anybody would be better than Trump. But, they said everything was going to get better. That's what they've been saying. Right. Remember, they even tell you when you go back in history, they tell you, well, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and John Adams, and James Madison, and Monroe, the founding fathers have the five of the founding fathers that became that first generation of presidents. They didn't know any better, but they were hoping and they were writing things knowing that you would make it better. But then John Quincy Adams didn't make it better. And Andrew Jackson didn't make it better. And Martin Van Buren didn't make it better. And James Polk didn't make it better. And Zachary Taylor didn't make it better. Right? Abraham Lincoln didn't make it better. Forgive me, I'm forgetting number 17's name. Johnson. Is his name Johnson too? I think Andrew Johnson, something like that. He didn't make it better. And Ulysses S. Grant didn't make it better. And Roosevelt didn't make it better. And the list goes on and on and on. The other Roosevelt didn't make it better. Eisenhower didn't make it better. Kennedy didn't make it better. I know everybody started saying we're going to vote for Kennedy, but the world is supposed to get worse, beloved. And we're supposed to get better. You said there may be another government shutdown, possibly, because that's the only way they're going to get stuff done. Matter of fact, didn't they try to, even though they pulled ICE out, they didn't pull ICE out. Hold on, okay, because once again, somebody help me out. I don't have all the information. Did they just had a vote in Congress about ICE, and if ICE should be, maybe, I don't know if ICE should be broken down some, or if ICE should at least be pulled out of some of the places they are. Then they have a vote in Congress. How did that go? Did they win that vote or not? Andrew Jackson was 7, but Andrew Johnson, or who was, I was saying 17, because you reminded me about Andrew Jackson earlier. Yeah, right. But anyways, it was Andrew something, I think, was number 17 president. You said they founded more money. They got more money for ICE, so they funded it more. Oh, well, I had that all the way wrong. You said they're talking about exchanging ICE for the military and just have martial law. Yeah, and that's when it gets really serious. That's when it gets to be like, you better get used to, being able to have a tent or something every once in a while to just get away from some stuff. If that's what it is. I got to read up more on it. I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying I don't have all the info with me. You said you're not sure about what we're talking about, but there was a vote to cut some of their funding. Okay, well, I don't know. I saw something. I thought, well, it's easy. We can go to the Google machine. Let's see. Recently, did Congress have a vote about ICE? Okay, Senate passes deal to fund government. Okay, to fund the government. All right. And negotiate ICE limits. So that doesn't mean they're going to do anything. Oh, this is New York Times. I got to pay for it. I'm not paying for New York Times. Let's see if I can find something else. ACLU, that's going to be heavily on the side of the left, but that's okay though. Let's read what they have to say. Oh, they got their stuff. You got to pay for their stuff too. My greatness. Well, that's fair, I guess. I guess. But anyway, so it said, so the Senate today blocked an appropriations bill that would have renewed ICE's excessive budget with no strings attached. Okay, so they blocked an appropriations bill that would have renewed ICE's excessive budget with no strings attached. The vote comes less than a week after federal immigration agents killed 37-year-old ICU nurse. More than 280,000 people joined the ACLU in sending messages to their members of Congress. Okay, yeah, so that's all right. So from here, it's saying I wanted a little more information, but that's okay. So at least I can say. So they wanted to. So they wanted to, I guess, keep on giving them more money. That doesn't mean that ICE goes away, though, right? Matter of fact, I guess we can just ask. I'm asking. Let's see. Recently, did Congress have a vote today about ICE? Does the repeal of ICE funding mean that ICE goes away? Let's see if we can find something on that. That's probably a better question. No, the repeal or lapse of new federal funding for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is ICE, does not mean the agency immediately goes away or stops operating. As of late 2020, January 2026, ICE operates under a combination of annual appropriations and substantial long-term fund. Okay, so here's a breakdown of why removing the funds is not eliminating the agency. Okay, they're not really giving. Okay, so basically they're not going to give. So basically it just sounds like, once again, correct me if I'm wrong, sounds like they're basically just saying that they're not going to give a whole bunch extra, some of the extra stuff, the extra toys or extra things that they're saying they need in the budget, which they may or may not need, or even being able to make more ICE agents, grow, is they're not going to allow that. But the long term that they had for ICE, the long term plan they had for ICE is still in play. Right. So that's what it sounds like. Okay, so it's just to stop the new funds. All right, I just want to make sure I'm saying the correct thing. Yeah. So, and all these things, though, so that means ICE still isn't going anywhere. And if they're talking about possibly doing some stuff with martial law, I think I had to do some more research because there's a lot of times they keep talking about martial law, and that has not happened. Well, I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. There's a technicality where somebody can say technically, since Abraham Lincoln, we've technically been under martial law because what was happening with the Union versus the South, none of that was ever stopped once the Union took back in the other states. So one could say you live by martial law. I feel sometimes we stress that out a little bit more than what that actually means. Or when persons are saying they're going to execute martial law, kind of like it's Order 66, and Palpatine's going to be put in position. I don't know if we're quite there yet, but at least we know we have the warning signs. I think when we see this stuff, say it again. I'm sorry. You said, to be honest, as a community, it would be great to come up with a plan just when things go crazy. Well, once again, we're trying to the plan. We say it like this all the time. We actually have the infrastructure. We have the stuff to harvest. At this point, we need the laborers. Like, we got to roll up our sleeves. So when we could go and try to kind of revisit and try to write out specifics and stuff like that again, but really at this point, it's about participation. Even just the SOC, we've had so many things over the years, but it's like, at some point, like, what will you do? What will you invest? Even just time, talent, effort, energy. If we say we're going to here's something that we have and believe it or not, we've done this several times, even with what persons might call smaller numbers. We have virtual real estate. And nowadays you live in a society where you want to get actual real estate, but believe it or not, virtual real estate is very important and it's crucial. We have the ability, if we want it right now, right? Like, if we, for example, something simple. Now, obviously we want to do more. We're talking about getting food in line. We got to make sure we start working on actual, physical, homes, stuff like that, in case we need them, or even if it's just places where we can go worship or get away or whatever, right? Person can feel safe. We can, keep things going with food, whatever. But just something as simple as, hey, everybody, let's make sure that we come together and let's make sure that we use the same hashtag. Why is that? Because if you do the same hashtag, no matter what, the algorithm is going to be what you say it's supposed to be. And then when we put this stuff out there, so for example, somebody's messing with some of our people. I'm not saying this is a real thing. Let's just say somebody starts messing with our people in Detroit. So hashtag We Be the Nation, hashtag Detroit. Every post we put up, we need everybody once a day to put up posts about what's going on and how we at SOC are going to make sure that we're going to take care of our people and how what they're doing is wrong. You begin to change the tenor of things just like that, right? We say, hey, there's something happening. There's an event going on. We need persons to make phone calls. We need persons to do that. Like, hey, be invested, right? We say, hey, this is where persons might get frustrated with me or whatever. Persons might try to say, I'm trying to change the word and what it means and all these things like that, whatever. Watch this. Something as simple as, hey, tithes and offering. And do we believe, have you seen enough at how we operate that if we say we're going to do something, if we say we're going to take care of persons, if we say, such as we have, we give unto thee. If we say we'll make sure that your family can be taken care of as best we can. If we'll make sure that your phones stay on, or persons who don't have phones can have phones, or persons who, need us to try and like put paperwork together to help you out with different things as far as getting a job, or, even things that we've done here or there as far as stipends, or being to make sure that we've taken care of persons in our community around the world, especially in the United States, if we be honest, more so in there, but do we have the gumption for that, the chutzpah for that, right? Do we have the intestinal fortitude for that? Do we have the intestinal fortitude to where like, hey, your problems are my problems, right? The prayers of a righteous man and righteous person availeth much, right? At this point, it's we have the remember the saying is the scripture is that the harvest is great, the harvest is plenteous, the laborers are few. At this point, we have enough stuff to where even if it was, we've been doing project management meetings for a little while now, and even though I've had some issues a little bit here or there with health or some emergencies that have happened, we've been putting stuff out enough to where if you're showing up to those, or even the person's calling, hey, I couldn't make it. What did you guys discuss? Oh, no problem. This is what we're talking about. We're doing this. Somebody said, okay, cool. Well, behind the scenes, I don't mind doing da. Right? you know hey, we have stuff going on with it, like even some of the simplistic stuff that we've been saying. Now, once again, when we say these things, it's on both sides. I can't tell SOC as a whole to do this and then persons aren't ready for this. But watch this. We got persons such as and Sister Greta not even trying to do it for money, right? But let's just say the workwoman's working higher. She has a whole bunch of stuff. She's like, hey, yeah, I make this, I do this, blah blah. She even does some stuff as far as engineering. We have Brother Dwayne. Hey, if you're looking for jewelry and stuff, we have somebody. We got that on lock. We have, well, excuse me, forgive me, babe. We have Elder Maya. If somebody's having issues with medicine, different things like that, we got that taken care of. Well, natural medicine, herbs, stuff like that, right? That are there to help you to recover and to be the best you can. I can't say what I want to say, but you know what I mean, right? Right. These are, we have persons, hey, somebody makes shea butter, somebody makes soap from nothing. I'm trying to finish my little contraptions and stuff and work stuff out so that I can make sure that I got a couple ideas as far as things besides the food we're going to send. I'd like to be able to even do some things that you can take, that you can drink. I'm just trying to get my little formula together so the taste is there. Technically, it tastes like medicine. It is what it is, right? It's going to help you, but I'm trying to finish making it a little better so that, it's not so, I guess, to be honest, natural tasting, but if you want to take a tonic, you're just gonna have to take a tonic sometimes, right? We have persons that do clothing. Matter of fact, we're gonna try to even increase that with more persons, so we have persons who at one point, I think we might not have it anymore. At one point, we had persons that even did the legal documentation as far as forgive me, what is it? The person who stamps the stuff, approves it, does it, notaries, things of that nature. We have different things that are in place. We have persons that can teach things. We have persons who teach things on men. So officially have their own stuff in their own pockets of the nation. Where if there's a brother in trouble and they happen to be over here, we can say, hey, that brother can go over here and get some help. We have a university. We have a university where we're giving out degrees now. About to have our first doctorate done prayerfully sometime this year. We're going to give out degrees, as long as everybody does what they're supposed to do. We'll be giving out degrees on Passover. All praises to the Most High. You'll be able to see it online and everything, right? Like we have all the stuff within ourselves, and we're so committed to the system. And I'm not saying, look, I've done DoorDash, I've done stuff before. I still every once in a while might have to do something outside of my norm to be able to try and get a little something extra here or there. My family has, praise y'all for my wife, who sometimes has had to do things as well as contracting things, stuff like, all of us got to do a little bit here or there to be able to fill in certain things, right? That being said, we have so much within ourselves. The it's the commitment at this point. Like it's the commitment level at this point, and the commitment level to doing it in righteousness. The commitment level to saying, hey, I'm committed to making sure that we can live off of this, not I, but we. I'm so serious about this. I know, ultimately, y'all know what my prayer has been about long life. I've since read some scripture and how I've been saying, and I'm probably not supposed to say it that way. That's why you don't hear me say it anymore. But I obviously want to live quite a long time. I like to live long enough to be able to see generations of Oforis, do what they do, and generations of SOC members do what they do, right? But I know that if I'm going to be labeled a success, there's something called successors, right? Which means that somebody else has to be able to pick up on what I'm doing or what we're doing, right? And if it just happens to be only 5 of us get fed off of this, then we're not a success if we don't have successors, right? If my children won't have an opportunity at some point in their life to say, hey, something that dad did allowed for us to be able to be put in position to where we'll be taken care of, then I'm not a success if I don't have successors, right? If the SOC babies end up like a lot of us, where we learned a bunch of information, we sung in a bunch of choirs, we did a bunch of praise dances, and yet we grew up still not being able to identify who we were, let alone making sure that they have a place to stay, making sure that they have options of health, making sure that they have a community where they can feel safe to be able to operate in what Yah says, then we're still not a success. So, really what this is showing me more than anything else, what we're talking about tonight with the four journalists. And by the way, let me say their name if I can find it, because I kind of feel like it's rude to just be saying Don Lemon and others when there's 4 persons total. Who are the journalists that were arrested with Don Lemon? Let me make sure I say their name, because I think we should say it out loud and we should make sure that we don't leave them. So Don Lemon. So these are the persons. Okay, so Don Lemon was one. Oh, they're not giving all the names. I should be able to find them pretty easily. They just focusing on him. All right, well, at least for tonight, I can say the sister's name. Please forgive me. There's also Georgia Fort, who's an independent journalist, and she filmed the incident. She announced her arrest on Facebook Live. That's actually something that was scary for me. I was watching, and she was telling everybody ICE is on the way and blah, blah, and kind of trying to be calm, but let everybody know kind of she was rushing a little bit. She showed some strength, but you could tell she kind of worried because police are coming for her. And then as soon as during, like, basically it ends, the last 20 seconds is you hearing open up in the background and somebody telling her they're there and saying she's coming. And then she kind of puts the phone down and she turns it off. And I was watching horrified. When I was like big time, and when I was doing the activism thing, when I was growing at first on the first Kofi Ofori page, I kind of got famous because of the guy who was I don't remember which one. They shot so many. I think it was because we were actually in kung fu class. No, it was two. It was 2 of them. So we cried separately. We were in kung fu class, and one of the guys who we thought we had actually done some stuff behind the scenes and worked with some others, and T Nathan and others, and we had worked hard. And supposedly the guy was going to be let off, and then he was on death row, and they ended up saying that they were gonna allow him to have like another day so that he can get his legal stuff together, and then while everybody was cheering in the midst of our kung fu class, I remember we just were sunk because we were hoping and pulling through. That was Ahmad. Was that Ahmad Arbery? No, it was Ahmad Arbery. Ahmad Arbery was the guy, right? He was the one where they showed him. That was the one that broke me. Where I literally, I remember I had to try. I tried like 20, 30 times to put a video together of that brother. It was just, I had to stop. It is weird how we be feeling like we have to watch our people die. It's like some kind of weird thing where we like have learned to funeralize them through watching their deaths, despicable actions that are done in front of the screen. But it was like too much for me. And I remember like Ahmad Arbery and watching, because they shouldn't have shown what they showed. I don't care. There's certain things that you would think you would respect human life, or just certain things you don't put on the screen for babies, right? But once again, that's, this is a country to where you were hung on a tree to make sure everybody knew what was going on. And, anyways, I won't go through all that, but yeah, I remember like that really, broke me. And I cried heavily. I didn't make, I don't know, I don't even remember if I made any sense on the video. It still hits me, to this day. I just remember like that was like the one where I was like, yeah, I can't watch all these. It took me a minute because then George Floyd came up later. And so I watched George Floyd, or I don't know which one. I think George Floyd came up later, right? Either way, I watched George Floyd after. I waited a long time to watch that one. And I first tried to fast forward it, and then I couldn't even watch it fast forward. Then later on, I got enough strength together to be able to watch. And, anytime you to see a grown man, crying for his mama like that was, yeah, it's sickening. But I remember with Ahmaud Arbery, because they had the shotguns on him, so you could see, his body do things that happens when you get hit. And yeah, I just it was that was I made a decision after that. Holy Spirit kind of told me, not right after, but Holy Spirit kind of showed me once that channel got taken down, before it got put up a few years later again. It showed me that the Holy Spirit used that to show me that, like, yeah, you're not going to save the system from within the system. And that's when we really started having to think about long-term, being prepared, learning as a family, growing together, making sure persons have same belief systems, and being prepared to protect one another, and to know that there's persons who are solid, solidified, solidly. I don't know. I don't have the adjective, or the way to use the word properly, but that we are solidified in our stance together, and that we're genuine in our stance. And the genuine, like, we can have a genuine feeling, but whether you feel like it or not, right? And I can only make the same vow that I've been making. I will try to continue to be greater and to be better in my outlook at things, right? But I can only make the same vow. I will give you the best that I can as a human being, outside of what Yah tells me to do for my wife and my son and myself and my family, right? Outside of that, you guys are my family, and I'm all in, right? I'm only one person, and I do have my quirks about me that sometimes makes it a little difficult to get back to person sometimes, or to do things. So I get, I deal with the ADHD thing, if you want to call it that. I deal with that, but help me and be dedicated. And I promise you, I will give you the best that I can. Right. And if somebody wants to run stuff, feel free to step up and help. Now, it's got to be all of us being on one accord together. But like I said, we have the infrastructure at this point. Sisters, if I mean, I've been so proud of y'all. You guys check on each other, talk to each other, letting everybody know, hey, is everybody safe? Everybody in the cold? I saw the brothers doing that too. We know that persons are contacting each other. I'm talking to persons when I talk to them. Hey, sorry, I haven't talked to you in so long. Oh, no problem. I've been talking to sister so-and-so and sister so-and-so, and we've been talking about and doing this and blah, blah. I mean, it's beautiful. It really is. I'm not being facetious. It is amazing to see, right? But yeah, now the effort is going to be required. And I know we all going through things, and I know we're all dealing with stuff, and I know our bodies can be aching here and there. I know that, but it is what it is at this point. It's all in, and all in, all in according to what you have, what you need, what you can do. But we only can move as far as what we do together as a community. Yeah, we all have our quirks and things. I'm just saying. So, and if there's things that we need to talk about, we can talk about them respectfully. I'm not the end all be all of anything. I hope I've shown that. I mean, obviously, as the assembler, I have a huge task, but I'm not the end all be all of anything, right? And I really am honest about that. If there's persons, as long as they're going to be faithful to the vision, because the vision is not Kofi's vision, it's Yahavah's vision. And so all of us, this belongs to us. This belongs to all of our children. This belongs to all of us who are SOC. This belongs to those who are not SOC yet, because we ain't finished growing, right? This belongs, and even if we want to, for those of you who are like, man, but we really need to help the community. We do. But guess what? If you have a stronger group, then you can get more done. I've said this before. If you go to DC and you go to Chinatown, everything in Chinatown looks like it's Chinese. Even if it doesn't look Chinese, it's got Chinese characters on it. Why? Because that's China's town. And so if a Chinese person needs help with something, they can do so because they have a culture, they have a commitment, they have put in money, they have ownership, they have things there, and they don't even have to worry about voting as much. Because why do you need to vote if you can walk into the mayor's office and say, "Hey, we right where you are," right? We're closer to, we right where the Senate is, where the Congress is. We have more power than you because you guys don't even have really, you guys really aren't even a state. You're a territory. So this is what we're going to require of you. You can be mad all you want, but if you go to Little Havana, they're going to tell you what to do over there. You're not in charge of nothing. That's theirs. I'm using, this is what it used to be called. I know it's a bad term to use, but when you used to go to Chicago, if you went to Jewtown, it's called Jewtown for a reason. If you're in Baltimore and you're looking at a Jewish place, hey, they run that. And we can be upset about it, or we can say, well, what are we going to do to come together and pull together and make sure that we have something where, if you come through this is us, right? If you're going to do business with, I'm trying my best to pull it off. We got to get better with it. But if we're ready to go, I'm gonna tell persons if they come to me, hey, Pastor Kofi, you know what, we like it if, because persons come to me all the time, but I'm not even ready to even start talking to persons like this. But if somebody comes to me, Pastor Kofi, y'all are doing great stuff. Hey, we want to do this, we want to sell this, we like blah blah. I'm gonna tell them, well, over here we actually go through so and so, and so you're gonna have to make an agreement with so and so because their business is actually part of our nation. And if you come in here, you can't just be coming in here trying to take over. But if somebody comes in and tries to do that and that's not set up, how can I even defend that? You see? So if you have these things, if you have this vision, if you have this place to send, if you know what's there, then let's get it. Anyways, I said I was gonna be done at 8:45. It's about to be 8:55. We're still gonna have our meeting. Meeting's gonna be brief tonight, but I'm just gonna run through some things as far as the regional stuff and let everybody know what we're gonna try to do for next week as far as these regional meetings. So just as soon as this is over, it'll be over in like 30 seconds. Just look in your email address. You should get a Google Calendar invite. We'll have a quick, when I say quick, it'll probably be me talking after the music, talking like no more than like 10 to 15 minutes, just making sure that everybody's kind of up on everything. Also, too, I'm sending a list in, at least our initial list in, for those who are coming over for Passover to Eastern Tennessee. So if you're coming, let us know. And if you're a maybe, if nobody's gotten back to you, but I'm going to put that list together. It's going to be kind of finalized, and we're going to kind of start working with that pretty much from Monday on, unless somebody comes in. There's still a little bit of spots left if you'd like to come, but we're kind of we're dealing with what we've gotten and what we've seen. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate you so much. We honor you. Hopefully you guys are ready. Like I said, I didn't really have a particular word per se. I was wondering what I had in my notes. All I could write down was Don Lemon conversation. And then I was watching some stuff and Holy Spirit said, yep, that's it. So prayerfully, at least you got some stuff out there. Know that we're together. Know that we're going to work towards this. How you doing, Brother Cole? We're going to be greater. We're going to be righteous. And just hang in there. It's kind of hard to see some of this stuff. It kind of hits you a little different. But let us also remember that we have already been guaranteed that we are more than conquerors. Let's go ahead and walk in that together. All right. So love you all. You guys have a great night. I'll send the link out and through email. And remember, as always, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearful and wonderfully made. And you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll be starting in Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. All right. Take care. Peace.